All right, let's go to the phones. Let's take Dr. J. Dr. J. You're on the Dan Bongino Show. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dan. This is Dr. J. I looked in. You asked a question about the forward posture of these fentanyl abusers. Well,
yes. What is up with that, Doc?
Well, in 2014, there was a study, and they looked at people who withdraw from opioids. 53% have severe low musculoskeletal back pain and lower extremity pain, and so that forward posture reduces the pain. So it's basically a way to alleviate the pain from opioid withdrawal. So,
wow, Dr. J, thank you so much. You will have to be one of our designated Dan Bongino Show medical health professional advisors. Mike, get Dr. J's number. We appreciate it. Thanks, Doc. That was very helpful. I kind of wondered that myself. Thanks for the call. I didn't know. I had no idea. I'm walking through Seattle, going to take a picture at the original Starbucks, and there's all these, dope heads walking around hunched over. I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, gosh, that's got to be painful. So there you go. Dr. J. Sounds like a reasonable explanation to me. All right, let's take another call. Let's take Alan. Alan, you're on the Dan Bongino Show. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dan. I'm tired of the Democrats using abortion emotionally. Abortion in the context that we're dealing with it's a matter of legislatively, whether or not the courts made the proper decision with Roe. In his book, Robert Bork's book, The Tempting of America, agreed with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They felt that it was improper. And clearly what the courts did for us was a favor. It's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of whether or not the federal government could overrule the people, you and me, and tell us, step aside. This is for us. You don't matter. And that's exactly what Roe was.
Yeah, well, yeah, I get it. But the problem is politics is the art of persuasion and the projection of power, Alan. I mean, I'm not trying to be antagonistic towards you at all, but we have to make more persuasive arguments to project power that abortion is the moral abomination that it is. And I'm not sure. Please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not sure the legal avenue is the way to accurately do that. The Democrats use emotion in the abortion debate. You're completely 100% accurate. But we can do that too. I mean, I think we have to just explain to people what is exactly happening. I find the Republicans are afraid to do this. My experience having run for office and having had a number of Republicans try to lecture me about how to speak about abortion, I find that they're afraid of describing what it is because they don't want to be in front of a group of people on tape talking about what actually happens because of the horror of what happens. But I find that to be the exact opposite approach. You should be telling people what it is, because when people actually see an abortion and what a human child in the womb basically destroyed, wiped out, having it, cut into pieces, even talking about it now, many of you are like, oh my gosh, we can't. No, we should talk about it because that's what it is. I think that we need to persuade using the same politics of emotions, because the reason people feel those emotions when you talk about abortion and you show people pictures of it is because human beings know exactly what that is. An exterminated, torn apart human life. So I get what you're saying, but it is an emotional issue, and it matters to me, and it matters a lot. Because if the Republican Party is not interested in defending human life, and many are, then what's the point? It doesn't kind of matter what tax rate you're paying if you're dead. Life matters. Hey, I'll see you all on Monday. It's been fun.
So you want Steph's Pizza, but you're in Lake St. Louis and it's just too far to go. Not anymore. Now you can feed that Steph's Pizza craving quickly and conveniently in Lake St. Louis. Same great menu with a new location. 111 Pond Fort Trail in Lake St. Louis. Steph's Pizza in the Chesterfield Valley on Long Road, in St. Peters on Jungerman, and now in Lake St. Louis. Check them out at stephspizza.com, because tonight's a good night for Steph's Pizza.
Colombo and Katie.
When it comes down to getting in the ballot box, Democratic voters vote for the Democrat.
Yeah.
Republican voters are typically more in tune with the policies of the candidates not the party in general, of the candidates. And if they don't like a candidate, they won't vote for him. But you need to understand that the team that you're going against, they're going to vote for the letter no matter what.
Tony Colombo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Then here's a great idea. Donate your car and help veterans and their families. Yes, one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program and we'll come and remove your car for free. Fast, free towing, and 24-hour response. You can donate most cars, trucks, or SUVs in most conditions. The proceeds raised goes to help active military, veterans, and their families, and you get a tax deduction. All you need to do is make this free call. Get rid of that old car and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now and book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Donation Program now. Donate your car and help veterans and their families. Operators are standing by. Here's the number.
800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. That's 800-925-1596.
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is Newstalk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. The first woman to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court has died.
Sandra Day O'Connor made history as the first woman justice when she was nominated by President Ronald Reagan in 1981 and confirmed to the nation's highest court. She often was the swing vote in closely divided cases during her tenure. In a statement, the Supreme Court said O'Connor died of complications related to advanced dementia, probably Alzheimer's, and a respiratory illness. O'Connor was 93.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. Also at townhall.com, the House voting to expel Republican Representative George Santos of New York following a critical ethics report on his conduct that included converting campaign donations for his own use. Santos becomes just the sixth member in the chamber's history to be ousted by his colleagues. Expulsion requires support from 2/3 of the House. Israeli government spokesman Eylon Levy says the Israeli strikes on Gaza will continue until the terrorist threat, evidenced on October 7th, is eliminated.
Releasing all the hostages and eliminating Hamas so that the Gaza Strip can never again pose a threat to the people of Israel.
Israel's war with Hamas has resumed in full force. Israel and Hamas trading blame for ending the ceasefire while negotiators in Qatar work to restart it. A West Virginia coalition that helps support a network of pro-life pregnancy centers in the state is receiving $1 million to distribute to organizations committing to encouraging people not to end their pregnancies. The state announced this week that the West Virginia Pregnancy Center Coalition was selected to manage the new West Virginia Mothers and Baby Support Program. The Dow is ahead 286 points and the NASDAQ adding 70 points. More at townhall.com.
Sleep Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. In the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-746-3737. 800-746-3737. 800-746-3737.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
We may see a sprinkle or two as we go through the rest of the day on this Friday, but I'm thinking we're going to stay mainly dry, just cloudy and a little cool. 54 for the high in the afternoon. The overnight lows tonight near 40. Should be dry on Saturday, but a little bit cloudy and a high of 48 degrees. And then on Sunday, the high in the low 50s. Skies become partly cloudy and it will be a little breezy. So a mainly dry weekend with a few showers overnight Saturday night into early on Sunday morning. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Ken Gerhardt.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Bring joy to the world, it's the thing to do. But the world does not revolve around you. Don't be a jerk. It's Christmas. It's Christmas.
Happy holidays. Welcome to Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Yeah. That makes me, that puts me in the Christmas spirit.
Takes you right to it, doesn't
How
it?
about that? We got a little holiday intro as it's now December. People, it's December. It's December.
It is December.
It's December. It's December. That's Christmas month.
That was the fastest and the most quiet November I have ever been a part of. Like, It went by. I saw someone say, November came for the turkey and then silently did the Irish goodbye. Like nobody knew November was there at the Thanksgiving meal. And then they did the Irish goodbye.
The
and
Irish
now
goodbye.
we're here in December.
The Irish goodbye is when you leave without telling anybody goodbye, right?
Yes. Yes. And that's what November, that was the game for that month.
We just call it ghosting.
Ghosting is good. Yep. Ghosting is also that.
But I like Irish goodbye. I like that. Yeah, we got a great show for you today on this 1st of December. We will be talking to Leah Hill, KMOV meteorologist, here in just about 40 minutes from now. As every Friday afternoon, we're joined by the great weather team there at Channel 4 to get us the weekend forecast. And, yeah, first weekend of December, people.
It's here.
Maybe you haven't had a chance to get your Christmas lights up on the house. This is pretty much like, this is do or die time.
Yeah.
Because you want to have them up long enough to enjoy them. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to wait another week or two. So fingers crossed that this weekend maybe has,
you can get her done.
Has the right weather conditions for that to happen. We'll find out when we talk to Leah Hill from the Channel 4 weather team here in just about 40 minutes. And, of course, joining us now on the line to start the show with us, as he does every Friday, putting in a little overtime at the end of the week from the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. The great Gabe Pfeiffer is with us. Gabe, hello.
You know what time it is.
You know what time it is, brother. It's time to start a Friday afternoon, and it's freaking December. How you like my new open?
I love it. I love Friday so much. I love December. I love Christmas time. I'm one of those freaky guys who puts all kinds of stuff up on his house.
Nice.
You can probably see my house from orbit. Because of all the lights. So, you know, that's how we roll at the Pfeiffer household.
I love that.
So, got a lot of things I want to talk to everybody about. Of course, we've got the George Santos situation. We've got the ceasefire expiring. So, lots to get into. I just read, though, this is top of mind for me because I just saw this story like moments before I walked in here to start the show. It happened last night, so you guys may be aware of this. I just read it for the first time. Tucker Carlson has endorsed Donald Trump for president.
See that. I did see that.
What do you think of that? Do you think that means anything? Does that carry any extra oomph for you?
It doesn't necessarily for me. I like Tucker Carlson and I like Donald Trump. But it doesn't. I think it always comes back to this. Does Donald Trump need endorsement? Does he need it? Because I don't think he does. But I think it's interesting when people come out and they say, I like Donald Trump and that's who I think I'm going to vote for. I think that that's interesting. I think it would hold more weight if Tucker Carlson said, I'm actually endorsing Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley might need it. Donald Trump, when you say I endorse Donald Trump, it's like, I don't think the dude needs it. What do you think, Gabe?
Yeah, does it make maybe the anti-Trump conservatives a little more comfortable about the idea of Donald Trump if somebody like Tucker Carlson gives his endorsement?
I think the Tucker Carlson people were already Trump people to begin with. So I saw a lot of crossover in their fandoms, as they say. But I think for the most part, I think Trump endorsements to me seem more about the individual doing the endorsement than they'd say about Trump.
Yeah, I don't really believe in endorsements, period. But I also am somebody who, because it's my job to be to pay attention to this stuff and kind of have a decent idea of who these people are that are running for offices and what their history is. So I kind of make up my own mind, and I feel like that's what most people do, Gabe. But for the average person, who's got a real job, not this, and has a family to take care of and bills to pay and other things to worry about and don't watch the news all day, does endorsements in general, obviously, it's a unique situation for everybody. It's not one like blanket answer, but can endorsements mean a lot to swaying voters in general, in your opinion? Because I don't think they do.
I think for the most part, no. But if we're talking about situations where name recognition is an issue,
Yeah.
which usually is almost never the case in presidential elections, then yes, endorsements can have some sort of meanings. Basically, somebody with more name recognition endorses the person with less name recognition, then there's going to be a little bump there. It may even get you a little tweak in terms of the people who aren't paying that much attention, and they say, oh, I hadn't even thought of that person for this. I didn't even know that person was running, which again, at least not in modern times, doesn't really happen in presidential elections. So for the most part, I don't think endorsements mean a whole lot to the endorsee, nearly as much as they're basically statements that are being made by the endorser. It really is less about, especially when we're talking about Donald Trump, it's less about Trump and more about the person doing the endorsement.
Tucker Carlson sounds like when it comes to Trump supporters, they usually are all in. There's not people that are usually, when you talk to Republican voters, conservative voters, and they're a Trump person, it's not I like Donald Trump the most, but I could definitely vote for Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, or I'd be fine. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's Trump versus Meatball Ron and the bird brain Nikki Haley, who are just as bad as Joe Biden, and it's got to be Donald Trump. What's wrong with you? Tucker Carlson, pretty much that level of support. He says, quote, I became an active Trump supporter when they raided Mar-a-Lago last summer. That just can't stand. I'm voting for Trump. And if they convict him, I will send him the max donations and I will lead the protests. That's how strong I feel.
There's two things I want to say. One of them being, talking about endorsements, it was a big deal for Americans for Prosperity to endorse Nikki Haley. So that happened this week too. I think that's the Koch brothers. That's their network.
Mm-hmm. And a big deal, Americans for Prosperity. I mean, we've worked with. I mean, that's a huge organization.
Huge deal. And so when we're talking about do endorsements mean anything? When you have an endorsement from Americans for Prosperity and they come out to endorse not Donald Trump but Nikki Haley, I feel like that shook up the conservative world a little bit, where everybody kind of took a step back and said, "I can't believe that she won that endorsement." But Donald Trump, I just don't think he needs anything like that. But with this Tucker Carlson, do you both remember that they've had a tumultuous relationship that I'm now starting to remember
Trump
a little
and
bit
Tucker?
too? Do you remember maybe 2 or 3 months ago, there was either a video or audio circulating of Tucker Carlson talking about Donald Trump behind a closed doors meeting or something in that element? And he wasn't speaking of him, let's just say, in the most fond light. And I think
maybe now that you're saying it, I have a little foggy, but no, I would not. But I mean, because Trump it was Trump and Tucker that did the whole counter programming to the first debate, right?
Yes,
I mean,
but-
so
that's what it was back in that time. It was back in that period. So it wasn't, so it might have been 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
People were surprised that Tucker Carlson invited Donald Trump to do that counter programming because this was around the same time this video, audio, whatever the case may be. I'm going to have to do a little bit more Googling on our break. Came out where Tucker wasn't speaking in the best light about Donald Trump. But even before that, they had a really great relationship, I thought, in 2017 and 18 and 19.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with Gabe. I've always kind of, I think it's an important headline and important to talk about, but I've kind of always lumped Tucker Carlson in with the Trump crowd anyway. So I don't remember any dissension there.
I'm going to have to, I'd had to do something with that first debate, that counter programming.
So something that that only I've heard me and you, Katie, talk about is the meeting that was supposed to happen this morning, that did happen this morning, the House GOP. Gabe, I don't know if you guys talked about this or if you've read this story at all, but there was big news. Well, not big news. Nobody was talking about it. I thought it was big news that the Republican House members were going to have a secret meeting, a closed-door meeting this morning to discuss whether they were going to move forward with formal impeachment, with a formal impeachment vote, a formal impeachment inquiry vote, I should say, because there's a big difference between an impeachment vote and an impeachment inquiry vote. For people that are wondering, like, didn't they already started an impeachment inquiry under McCarthy? That was informal. And it was informal at the time, Gabe, if you remember, that because the Republicans didn't have the votes. They didn't have the support of the Republican Party to move forward with a formal inquiry. Kevin McCarthy knew it, and so he announced the inquiry informally. They had a meeting today to discuss whether they should move forward formally with that. Are you familiar? Are you familiar with this story or this situation at all, Gabe? And
No.
To me, it's like it's a really big deal.
No, I hadn't heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me given a lot of the more recent revelations. You've got the Hunter Biden getting subpoenaed and agreeing to come in and talk. You've got some more information from bank records and things like that starting to hit the light of day. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's kind of the next step.
So James Comer, Jim Jordan, and Missouri's own Jason Smith, who are all chairmen of very powerful committees in the House, are the ones that brought the case this morning in this closed-door meeting to the House Republicans. They're the ones who made the case for a formal impeachment inquiry, for it to be voted on in the House, pass in the House, and then that gives the whole thing a lot more teeth and a lot more viability, because now it's something that's been voted on. There's record. They said that the subpoenas and anything, and any requests coming from Congress people after if a vote is held and it passed, will have a lot more teeth and have a lot more consequences if people don't go along with the subpoenas or anything else. And apparently it went well. They Republicans that were leaving that closed door conference this morning said that they believe that vote could come as early as next week. Quote, "That's the plan," said Representative Ralph Norman of South Carolina when asked if the House would vote on such a measure. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, who was one of the three committee chairs that I just mentioned that brought the case to the Republicans, said, quote, "The sooner the better." He said that Republicans' time at home over Thanksgiving helped solidify support within their conference to officially authorize the inquiry. I said yesterday, Gabe, that if they got together this morning, House Republicans, and they had this meeting, and they left that meeting, and they still weren't all unified on moving forward with just impeachment inquiry. That's why I made that distinction earlier. This isn't even moving forward with impeachment. This is just formally saying, hey, there's enough smoke here that I think that we should look for a fire. That's literally all it is. I think that we've crossed that threshold. I think that we've gained that amount of knowledge that I think an investigation is well warranted to see if Joe Biden has done any impeachable offenses against the country. And I said yesterday, if they walk out of this and they still don't have the support within the party, I'm done with all of them. So it looks like, hopefully for once, things went the right direction. What do you think about the idea of Republicans having a vote to formally engage in an impeachment inquiry on the president?
That sounds about right. I mean, yeah, if by now they're not ready to at least move, take that small step forward, then yeah, they're kind of they're slow marching us into oblivion here. But I do appreciate though the deliberate nature that they're taking with this inquiry, just because impeachment has been turned into a political football on its own.
Yes.
Particularly because of the Democrats' essentially persecution of Donald Trump and their attempts to impeach him twice. The second one being the most flimsy and stupid one ever. And so they didn't want to have the appearance of, well, we're, tit for tat, we're getting you guys back, as opposed to, hey, there's actually something going on here.
Yep. That is
also sort of.
I was just going to say that's exactly what Katie said yesterday. Katie said this cannot be a we're doing it to you because you did it to us kind of thing. But as I said, there may be some people that feel that way, but there's way enough evidence, in my opinion, to move forward with this inquiry.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, if I had my druthers, they would have actually impeached him already based on a lot of the stuff that has already come out. But I think one thing that they may be trying to take advantage of is all the timing of this stuff. Now, I can't say all this for sure, but as advantageous, as important as it is to kind of to move deliberately and carefully through this process, step by step, it's also going to provide them the opportunity to break out maybe an October surprise that the Democrats aren't going to be able to come out from under. I've been saying this for a while, that the Democrats seem to be leaving themselves an off ramp for Joe Biden. With some, brief talk here and there about his age, and some people saying, well, maybe he should move on and kind of give the next generation a chance. They're doing that stuff quietly and not through their bigger names, but just kind of letting some junior congressman from wherever podunk place make those inquiries. But all the while you've got Gavin Newsom making trips to China. So I get the feeling that they're trying to play both sides, in that regard. One being, yes, Joe Biden's our guy, we're going to move forward with him, and one being, you know what, maybe Joe needs to go by the wayside. So I think they're keeping their powder dry on that. But eventually they're going to have to make a choice. And depending on what that choice is, the timing of this impeachment inquiry can become even more important. So especially the revelations from it, when people start paying attention in early October and Joe Biden's on the ballot everywhere, and some really, really bombshell stuff starts dropping, that would be perfect timing for the Republicans. But I'm not going to hold my breath that they're going to actually pull a win out of here, because they're really notorious for shooting themselves in the foot.
Well, speaking of the House, they have voted to remove George Santos from the House of Representatives. Speaking of Gavin Newsom, there was a big debate last night that I hung with as long as I could.
Same.
And then I just started to get I was getting legitimately mad. So I had to eventually turn it off. But I watched enough to form a very strong opinion. And the ceasefire in the Middle East is over. So there is lots to talk about as we continue through the afternoon here with Gabe Pfeiffer on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I won't stop till I get through. I'm on this lonely road from Nashville to St. Louis. I'm driving as fast as I can, 'cause I don't want to get on to you.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
So as we close in on the end of the year, there is one thing that is still the same as it was at the beginning of the year, as it is here at the end of the year, and that is it is a great time to sell your home. There's been a lot of changes this year in the market with interest rates and everything else, but the supply and demand, it's that simple, has kept it very much a great time to sell your house, a very much a seller's market. And so if you've been thinking about selling your home, you need to take advantage of that before the window of opportunity closes, and there's no better team to help you with that than the Wallner Home Selling Team with Berkshire Hathaway. You guys have heard my story working with Rodney and Jen Wallner. My wife and I loved working with Rodney and Jen. The results speak for themselves. They were great, so fast in selling our home, and just over-delivered selling our old home, over-delivered finding us our new home. And that is the story with Rodney and Jen, because they're selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical home seller. They've got so many qualified buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer. And above all of that, they're just great people. They're a married couple. They bring that family perspective to the conversation, which was very important to my wife and I. And they have the experience and, more importantly, the work ethic to be the best. And again, the results speak for themselves. Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner Home Selling Team, are simply the best. So if you are thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Take advantage of this market while it is still on your side. Call the Wallners now. 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
We all know the healthcare system's broken. It's not about you. It's about the code, the bill, the 7-minute appointment. Hi, it's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I've developed a better way that restores old-fashioned values with a holistic approach to your healthcare. That means affordable, available, no copay or deductible primary care. And with my 30-plus years as an OBGYN, there's added value for women and couples. Whether it's a new or nagging problem, you need a second look at a troubling diagnosis, or simply want a trusting, relationship-based healthcare experience, give us a look at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Our mission is to provide exceptional, accessible, and truly affordable care where the focus is on you, not insurance denial and cookbook medicine experts. And with your membership, there's a number of perks, including hundreds of free meds, in-office ultrasound, common diagnostic tests, and more. Interested in seeing me or learning more about healthcare the way it ought to be? Schedule an appointment or a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Facts don't matter. Lies don't matter. You or I lie, we go to jail. She lies.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
It's just part of the business. President lies, it's part of his business. Joe Biden couldn't tell the truth if he could remember it. And then you got Hunter Biden, because he's a drug addict, because he's a gun criminal, because, posts pictures of himself with hookers and crack pipes and all that kind of stuff. Now that makes him somehow wonderful.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
Hey, I'm here with one of our great friends, Rob Connor from Connor Roofing. I talk about all the time who to trust, and trusting a company is everything to me. Why do people trust Connor Roofing?
Well, 30 years of being an honest roofing company that you can call and get an honest opinion on your project. We've got thousands of customers that are very happy that they did call us.
If there's a storm, the shingles fly off the house, first thing you should do is call 314-375-7475. That's how you get in touch with Connor Roofing, or connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Live and local.
Listen to what those local folks are telling you.
News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo Katie on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo. My partner is Katie Fitzpatrick. And on the line with us is Gabe Pfeiffer from Mike Ferguson in the Morning, which you can hear every day starting at 5:30. Hello.
Hello.
That's it.
Yikes.
No,
Still
I'm
here.
just saying hello. That's an early morning. I'm just saying hello. That's a hell of a time for the alarm clock to go off. But you can hear Mike and Gabe and Still Baby every day starting at 5:30 here on News Talk STL. You can also watch Gabe's videos on his YouTube channel. I almost said website. On his web channel, on his web TV. At YouTube, St. John
His
the
web
Philosopher.
TV.
On his web TV station.
I do stuff on the interwebernets.
You got one of those web TV channels, right?
http://www.
Yep. House of Representatives voted today to expel scandal-plagued Representative George Santos. A solemn hush fell over the House chamber as Speaker Mike Johnson slammed his gavel, finalizing the historic ouster. Santos walked out of the House chamber before all the votes that sealed his fate were cast and did not answer reporters' questions on his way out. Expelling a member of Congress takes 2/3 majority vote. The last time a House lawmaker was expelled was more than 20 years ago when the former Representative Jim I'm not going to try it, was voted out of Congress in 2002 prior to his ousting. He had been convicted of 10 felony counts. Convicted of 10 felony counts, including racketeering and taking bribes. Santos has not been convicted of anything. He's been indicted on 23 counts related to wire fraud, identity theft, falsification of records, credit card fraud, and other charges. But still, the last guy that got kicked out of Congress was convicted on 10 felony counts. Santos has not been convicted on anything. What do you think, Gabe, about was this the right thing to do for Republicans? Was this the right thing to do for the House? Overturning an election should never be taken lightly, in my opinion. However, I also freely admit that George Santos is a bad egg. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. And we had this discussion this morning, and primarily, we kind of fell on the side of, I can kind of take it or leave it, whether or not they wait for the conviction or not. But there is something to be said about setting a precedent, about not waiting for the full length to go. I think in this case, though, and they probably should have made this a little more public, is that there are Congress people who had personal experience with the misuse of data. So they're personal congressmen who's like, yeah, I didn't authorize these charges and you did this. So it may not be a matter of, well, he's not convicted, but it's a matter of, yeah, I know you did it because you screwed me over. So that probably weighed a little bit more heavily than the idea of setting precedents.
What do you think, Katie? Was this should they have waited for the courts to find him guilty and then move forward, or was there enough was there already enough damage that he had done?
I'm so conflicted about this because I do believe that George Santos is an absolute scumbag. And I do think he is a liar and obviously a fraudulent, skeevy kind of guy. But I also believe that people elected him. And this is not anything, I'm not trying to say anything negative or speak badly about the people that voted for him, but there were prior things that they could have looked up about George Santos to know that he was not a good person.
Right.
So my heart wants to say that these people voted for him and there should have been a little bit different of a process. But I also think this goes back to Gabe's point about impeachment. It's like we have all these things on Joe Biden. To me, they all seem heavily enough to do an impeachment inquiry. But we also have a lot of people that are saying, no, now we're weaponizing that kind of process. Maybe they think that same kind of thing is applicable to George Santos in a lesser version, obviously, than impeachment, where it's like, what is the extreme measures of expelling someone from Congress? Is it 10 counts where you're counted as a criminal?
10 felonies.
20 years ago? Or is it being indicted and being a scumbag of a person.
Yeah. I don't feel sorry for George Santos, and I don't blame anybody for thinking that he doesn't belong in the House of Representatives and for kicking him out. I don't blame anybody for that. But Gabe, to your point, my only worry is with the precedent that gets set of not being convicted of any crimes.
Yes.
And somewhere down the road, there's it's being used as a political tool, much like we were just talking about with impeachment, how that's just been turned into this political tool that can be used, like the filibuster almost, when it's supposed to be something that's, historic and, your last ditch safety net. And so I'm just afraid that somewhere down the line, there's a controversial congressperson and, one side says, hey, we're going to kick them out. And the other side says, yeah, you can't do that. They've not even been convicted of any crimes. And they said, well, we've done it before. You did it before. You kicked people out of here before that weren't convicted of any crimes. That's my only concern. My concern lies more with the precedent than it does with George Santos, who I think is
And what
scummy.
does it say to the constituents? Like, what does that say to the... Again, let me just qualify this, Gabe. I do think he's scum.
Yeah.
Yes.
He lied to them. He did lie to them while he was running. But
he did.
But to your
what
point,
does
they
it
could have.
say to the people that voted? What does it say to them? I mean, they might regret their vote, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
But to not allow.
Do your research.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
I do.
What does it
I
say
absolutely
to
do.
them?
Like I absolutely do. Like this is a democracy. It's a this is why we have elections. And why I guess my voice doesn't count. I voted for this guy, and we put him in office, and you're just going to arbitrarily remove him. What are Gabe, your thoughts?
Yeah, precedent is a massively important thing, and I think we sometimes, in our zeal for whatever cause it is, we don't think about precedent, and precedent goes a long way in a lot of cases, whether it's like the establishment of a law of any sort, using a certain level of reasoning to determine XYZ. All of those things set precedents. You're creating new pathways by which to examine new situations. So you have to be able to think in multiple dimensions, I guess, in that regard. So for sure, precedent is a massively important aspect of this. But I wonder, and I've asked this question a number of times on this issue, does it make a difference if it's your party in charge who's trying to deal with one of their own? You know what I mean? So, because right now we're talking about a Republican majority trying to deal with a Republican member. Yep. Is it a different situation if it's a Democrat majority, or dealing with a Republican member, or a Republican majority dealing with a Democrat member? Does that make a difference in the precedent being set here?
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting you bring that up because I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I do know. I think that slightly more Republicans voted for him to stay in Congress than for him to leave. Like just by it, like it was almost 50-50 with Republicans, and obviously every Democrat voted to kick him out. So the Republican Party was pretty split, and even though they have that thin majority, they were still pretty split. And it's going to be, like I said, I think the important thing here is to watch how this new precedent is applied in the future. Gabe, I'm sure you guys talked. We had Mike on the other day previewing the Gavin Newsom Ron DeSantis debate. I was into it. I was ready for it, and I was infuriated by it as I was watching it yesterday. I've got some specific thoughts, but overall, what did you think? And was there a winner? And does it have any major impact on things moving forward?
Well, one of the problems with debates, as with a lot of political situations, is that if you know things, if you have data, if you have a solid view of reality inside your brain, it's difficult to give any points to Newsom, because he pretty much lied his way through the whole thing.
Oh,
and it was It was kind of sickening. Is that the? I'm gonna take a guess. Was that one of the major reasons why you couldn't watch it?
Yeah, I couldn't stand. I mean, just because I don't like. I mean, I just don't like the way we debate now with both people
Sure.
always talking to each other and going like,
Mhm.
like somebody starts talking, the other person just starts, like as they're talking, the other person is going, "That's a lie, liar,
Yeah.
liar. That's a
Mhm.
lie. No, false narrative.
Not true.
Not true. Not true. That's not true. Sean, that's not true. That's not true. That's a lie. Lie, lie."
Mhm.
Like the whole time that somebody's talking. So that's just hard to watch, right?
It is
That's
hard
just
to-
hard
hard
to
to listen
watch.
to
And
also.
then, yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, there was so much BS, and I'm going to get into one specifically here in a second about
Actually,
guns.
some of the BS was an infographic, but that's a whole other story.
Oh, it was
Actually, that
rough.
was human but you get the point.
It was rough.
But I think overall, I think DeSantis accomplished what I think was primarily his goal was to generate some buzz and some sound bites for his campaign.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if it was the kind of home run he needed to kind of relaunch his efforts here. I think one of our listeners commented that is like, yeah, he needed a home run here to really get his campaign going again. And he didn't accomplish that, I don't think. But he's got a ton of sound bites now, and look, if the GOP doesn't come out with ads of Gavin Newsom talking about how I'll take a 100-year-old Biden over Ron DeSantis, and and just juxtapose that with clips of Joe Biden being a 150-year-old man trying to get
Shaking
upstairs,
hands with the
that would
invisible man.
that I don't know what the GOP would be doing if they don't use those, but yeah, I think it was kind of a content cow for the DeSantis campaign in particular. And other than that, I mean, it pointed out some of the glaringly obvious differences between what Republican and Democrat governance can do to a state.
Yeah. Katie, what did you think overall? Was there a winner? Was there a loser?
Gavin Newsom
Didn't mean
is a
anything.
smooth snake oil salesman. He is smooth like butter. And I hate to give him that, but the dude knows what he is doing when it comes to being able to speak to the American public on a grand scale, like the audience he probably had last night.
Yeah.
All of it was nonsense and a lie. Some of it, Sean Hannity called him out on. Some of the things Sean Hannity, I think Gavin, snake oil salesman, but he was a smooth talker. Sean Hannity impressed me, really impressed me. I thought he did a really good job. Ron DeSantis did what he had to do, but still not his format. Debate, still not his format. So all in all, it was just like, okay. I watched it and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Here was my boiling point moment. And I almost talked about this yesterday because this was actually in the news yesterday, but I'm glad I didn't because now I can get everything out in one go here. When they were talking about guns, and they were and Gavin Newsom was defending his, they're strict on guns, anti-Second Amendment, all of this. And he brought up, and this is the new thing, and this is so important. Listen to me. This is so important because this is the number one headline, cherry-picked piece of information that it seems like that the anti-Second Amendment crowd has latched onto. Because again, this happened on the Senate floor. There was a very entertaining back and forth between Senator Kennedy, who's always entertaining, John Kennedy, and a professor from Yale who brought up the same stat and the same lie that Gavin Newsom brought up on the debate stage yesterday, in that red states have more gun crime than blue states.
I did hear that.
And Gavin Newsom even said, like, you can't. That says it all. That's the whole story.
That's a fact.
That
Does
is
it, though?
not the whole story. So
yeah,
in those states, because Missouri is always, it hits even a little closer to home because Missouri is always one of the states, and it was mentioned in the debate last night by Gavin Newsom. As he's rattling off red states with these terrible gun crime, with these that have higher gun crimes than blue states, and Missouri's always one of them. And that's the whole story. Nothing else to see here. Guess where all of Missouri's gun crimes come from? All
St.
of
Louis
them.
and Kansas City.
St. Louis and Kansas City, which are run by, Gabe?
Democrats, I think.
Democrats.
Okay, yeah, all right,
Exactly.
yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So
I wasn't sure there. I was a little, tepid in my answer. I wasn't sure.
What happened with the Yale professor and John Kennedy on the Senate floor says it all. He is asking. John Kennedy asked this Yale professor, who was, this anti-gun person and, sticking up for all these laws in these blue states. John Kennedy said, "Why do you think that Chicago has become America's largest outdoor shooting range?" And to which the Yale professor said, Chicago compared Chicago to 3 red states, claiming Mississippi, Louisiana, and Missouri actually have higher firearm death rates. To which Kennedy said, "I'm asking you about Chicago." And then so they get into
It's a city.
And here's the thing. The stats aren't even true that the red states have it worse, at least than Chicago. And again, when you look into it, when the red states do have high gun crimes numbers, it's in the blue cities of those states, not in the red parts of the red states. So since 2019, Chicago's gun homicide rate has ranged from 25 to 29 murders per 100,000 people. In 2019, Louisiana, Missouri, and Mississippi saw 12.5, 9.3, and 13 gun homicides per 100,000 people, respectively. Again, Chicago was between 25 and 29. Everybody else was between 9 and 13. Not even close. And in 2023, this year, Mississippi's gun homicide rate was 13 murders per 100,000. Louisiana's gun homicide rate was 15 murders per 100,000. Missouri was 11 murders per 100,000. Chicago, 29 per 100,000.
I'm no math genius, but actually I am.
Actually,
but
you are.
I think those numbers suggest otherwise
It's
of
double.
what they were saying.
It's double.
Yeah.
It's double in
Yeah.
Chicago than in those states. And it, like I said, during that debate last night, when Missouri was called out and other red states were called out, when you do want to look down and crack down on our gun crime issues, they are almost all, literally almost all, in St. Louis and Kansas City, which are run and have been run for decades by Democrats, anti-gun Democrats. So it is such a lie. It's such a false narrative. And it is so infuriating when Gavin Newsom and people on the Senate floor and the President of the United States and all these people fall back on this line of, it's actually the red states that have some of the highest gun crime rates. And then they act like that's the end of the story. It is so not the end of the story, and such, again, a false narrative that drives me nuts. Gabe, almost out of time. Any last thoughts about the debate or the gun rights argument?
No, it'd be nice if we could actually have a legitimate discussion about gun safety in America. Because we have
an
so
honest
often
one.
like an honest and true. So we're actually talking about real things, real people, real stats, and real concepts, real discussions about liberty versus security. It would be really great if we could have that. But like so many other situations, so many other issues in our republic, we're so bogged down in this partisan fight thing, mostly because of lying Democrats and lying leftists, that we're left either responding reflexively to try and debunk the garbage that they're feeding us and not actually talking about solutions.
Yeah. That is Gabe Pfeiffer. You can hear every morning on Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL. You can also check out Gabe's YouTube channel, St. John the Philosopher on YouTube. And, of course, you can hear Gabe every Friday afternoon right here with us on Colombo and Katie. Gabe, really appreciate your time as always, my friend. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. God bless.
Thank you, Gabe.
Back at you, man. And speaking of that weekend, first weekend of December, what is the weather going to be like? We are going to find out when we get the weekend forecast from Channel 4 meteorologist Leah Hill. She joins us next here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Friday, Chris talks Supreme Court with Zach Smith, economy with Patrick Ishmael, and harnessing Lincoln's vision for today with Chris Pilkerton.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
This Saturday night at 10 on Stories of New Americans.
I'm joined by Warsame from Somalia.
You know, every time these missiles hit, there's these like small fragments.
Shrapnel.
Yeah, shrapnels, yes, that fly off. And even the neighbor, the woman, she was pregnant. And those shrapnels hit her and she died.
Stories of New Americans. Saturday nights at 10 on News Talk STL.
I'm Missouri Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. As a small businessman and entrepreneur, I always encourage Missourians to shop local to support their friends and neighbors. This holiday season, visit buymissouri.net to find Missouri-made products, manufacturers, and retailers near you. When you buy Missouri, you help create jobs and keep our hard-earned dollars in the local economy. I encourage you to shop local every day, but especially during this holiday season. Visit buymissouri.net and follow @BuyMissouri on social media for more information.
Brought to you by the Missouri Lieutenant Governor's Office. Steve Templeton's Weekend Forecast, brought to you by Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor for all your roofing needs. Visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Got some Perry Woods music there. Perry Woods Friday, every Friday, as we support local music here on Colombo and Katie. We're going to talk to Leah Hill, meteorologist over at Channel 4. Get that weekend forecast from her here in just a moment. In the meantime, I want to quickly remind you that if you missed any of that conversation that we just had with Gabe Pfeiffer from the morning show, or you just want to make sure you never miss anything that happens here on the show, make sure you are subscribed to our podcast. We put the podcast out we put the show out as a podcast shortly after we get off the air each and every day, and it's on basically every podcast platform there is. So whatever your favorite podcast platform is, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, many, many more, Colombo and Katie are on all of them, and you should just subscribe to us so you never miss the show. Also, don't forget you can watch us, and there's always a little something extra special for the people watching. You never know when we have visual aids during our
Like
stories.
yesterday.
Like yesterday, exactly. And you can watch us every day on YouTube. A couple places on YouTube, the Colombo and Katie YouTube channel and the News Talk STL official. That's what you have to search, News Talk STL official, because the original News Talk STL YouTube channel got removed.
Had to go.
By YouTube. You can also watch us, of course, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Rumble. All right, as we wait for the call from Leah Hill, we can dive back into some of the headlines. Did you see that? Did you see that Rand Paul saved Joni Ernst's life?
I did see that.
In
Incredible.
the Senate lunchroom.
Incredible.
First of all, is it pretty awesome and incredible to you that there's like a Senate cafeteria?
I love thinking
I think
about
like
that.
at high school.
Oh, yeah.
Like you would think if you're a United States senator that you're not sitting in like a schoolroom cafeteria. I watch. So, like you would think that like they're going to lunches with powerful, important people, or maybe they're having lunches sent into the office there.
Totally.
The fact that there's like a Senate food court where it's like,
oh, yeah.
Like, hey, anybody sitting here? And it's like, like the Bernie Sanders socialist crowd, and they're like, seats taken.
Oh, yeah.
You're not allowed.
You didn't
here.
vote on that.
Yeah, and, somebody's over in the corner sitting by themselves because they got nobody to sit with, like Kristen Sinema, who's,
island
an
of your own.
independent. Like nobody likes her anymore.
It makes me laugh because every time I think of like a cafeteria setting, I always go back to the cafeteria of the movie Mean Girls, where it is like you got your jocks,
Yeah.
You got your goths.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
your nerds.
Is that what the United States said it is?
Like what's the level of being like John Kennedy and Rand Paul are the popular people because they're always on like the media and outlets and doing the tours.
What would it be better is if it literally even was like the Democrats sat on the left side of the room and the Republicans sat on the right side. And then you got guys like Joe Manchin who are like, "Can I sit with you guys?" "No, you can't sit with us, you commie liberal. Get out of here." And then he goes over to the Democrats and they're like, "Get out of here, you traitor. Don't sit with us. Go sit over there with your conservative friends." He's like, "I don't have anywhere to go."
It's great. It's fascinating to hear that.
Holding their tray with their pizza and their French fries. That's all I think of.
Chocolate
'Cause that's
milk.
what we had every day. Pizza and French fries.
Dang. Yeah, y'all were before Michelle Obama got in there and tried to
way before.
to do the thing.
Way.
Where it was
Did
like
you have to deal with Michelle Obama? Were you in high school during the Obama administration?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. I was middle. What was I? I gotta go pick out a coffin. I was middle school when Obama was elected. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Whole thing there.
Well, anyway, in the Senate lunchroom yesterday, Joni Ernst, the senator, was choking on her food, and Rand Paul, who's also a doctor, had to perform the Heimlich maneuver to save her life.
Incredibly terrifying. Have you ever had to do something like that? Save someone that's choking?
Not like that. Not to that extent.
Oh my
Not to that
gosh.
extent. I mean, everybody has that little scare with babies or whatever where you're like,
Totally.
they're like kind of doing like that. You're like, "What are you doing? Why are you being
Yeah.
that way?" They're like, and you're like, "Hey, why are you doing? What are you doing
Hey,
here?"
pal.
You start kind of giving them the like on the back, like, "Hey, what are you doing? Knock that off. Like, get that out of there." You know, like,
and the baby's like, oh,
yeah, like that kind of thing. Yes. No, I've never had to like, whah, like,
I mean,
two-hand Heimlich maneuver.
Talk about fight or flight in that moment for Dr. Rand Paul. I mean, talk about that's insane.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is insane, and it happened. And then Joni Ernst actually had a really funny tweet that she put out afterwards. She said, quote, "Can't help but choke on the woke policies Democrats are forcing down our throats. Thanks, Dr. Rand Paul."
Wow.
So she's even having a little fun.
I can't.
with the fact that she almost died.
Choking on a chicken bone. I just cannot fathom giving someone the Heimlich maneuver. Like, just how does that happen? Seeing someone choke, it's petrifying. But good thing that he is a doctor.
Mm-hmm. We'll get into a few more of these stories that are a little bit on the lighter side as we will bring you some Friday Fun Time a little bit later on in the show, including, as part of Friday Fun Time, Harvard has announced. Harvard. What's it cost to go to Harvard? Like $100,000 a year?
Sure.
I bet it's nuts. We should find that
let's
out
see.
before we have this conversation later on. That's everybody's homework. Find out how much it costs to go to Harvard. Harvard is offering a class next year on Taylor Swift. Course at Harvard will use music of Taylor Swift to explore race, class, and white Americanness. Taylor Swift.
To totally bring Taylor Swift down, to just totally rip her apart?
No. I think that they like use her as the guide of like how somebody can use celebrity and music to promote positive messages.
Oh, I took it the other way.
Oh no!
I thought it was going to be like diversity, equity, and inclusion type of thing.
No, the professor is in the Harvard newspaper, classified as an ultimate Swiftie.
Oh, now if that's what you write in your bio at Harvard, I'm a little bit suspicious.
So definitely keep it here because we are going to have some Friday Fun Time with that and more. Before we get there, we will talk about what's happening in the Middle East. The ceasefire is over. There was a shooting yesterday during while the ceasefire was still. If the ceasefire had been continued, this was going to be my number one thing I wanted to talk about, because there was a terrorist shooting that was said to be, that doesn't count. I know we're in a ceasefire, but that doesn't count. So what good is the ceasefire if you could kill people during the ceasefire. I don't know. But the ceasefire is now over. And according to the White House, Israel has to abide by certain rules going forward. We'll talk about that next.
You want to give a unique gift this holiday? I suggest Stolac Whiskey, produced in Missouri. Stolac Whiskey, born of natural limestone filtered water from the Ozark Highlands, aged in Missouri oak. Stolac, so smooth. Trust me, you're going to enjoy it. So next time, ask for Stolac. Visit the website, stolac.com. Stolac, Stowloch, from Stone Ledge Distillery.
Are you looking for an awesome space to have an incredible event this season, this holiday season, or just for any reason whatsoever? Your one-stop shop is View 17. That's VUE17.com, VUE17.com. Ultra-modern media conference and event center. You can have just about any event you can dream up there. It's on the 17th floor in the heart of the county of St. Louis. Check them out today. You will be impressed, and so will your guests. VUE17.com, View17.com.
Where callers won't be canceled.
It's just so ridiculous and so offensive.
And we don't socially distance from differing opinions.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I haven't always agreed with you.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
This country is worth fighting for.
That's why we're canceling those season tickets. That's why we're canceling those subscriptions.
I'm just so sick and tired of it.
Disgust us.
It's insanity, man.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice
for conservative talk.
They always have great conversations.
News, analysis, and opinion.
When you systematically mislead the American people and lie to Congress and the American people, you're not doing your job and you should be removed.
He told us we had to save America from Donald Trump, and now we feel like we have to save Palestine from Joe Biden.
The president maintains his position that a reoccupation by Israeli forces is not the right thing to do.
101.9 and 94.1.
My news station.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Israeli government spokesman Ilan Levy accuses Hamas of violating the terms of their ceasefire
by failing to release all the kidnapped women as it was obligated to do so, and kidnapped children, and by resuming rocket fire.
Israel's war with Hamas has resumed in full force. Israel says 136 hostages remain in Gaza. Negotiators in Qatar working to restart the truce. Also at townhall.com, the House has voted to expel Republican Representative George Santos of New York. That vote to expel was 311 to 114. Back in May, Santos was indicted by federal prosecutors on multiple charges, turning his presence in the House into a growing distraction. A group of Republican senators calling on the White House to impose a travel ban between the U.S. and China. That's over concerns about a surge in unexplained respiratory cases among children. Bob Agnew has that report.
Writing for a group of 5 Republicans, Florida Senator Marco Rubio says, quote, "We should immediately restrict travel between the United States and China until we know more about the dangers posed by this new illness." Rubio, the ranking Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee, urges swift action, citing what the letter calls China's long history of lying about public health crises. Last week, the World Health Organization requested more information from China after reports emerged about clusters of undiagnosed pneumonia cases in Chinese children. Bob Agnew reporting.
And South Korea launching its first military spy satellite a little over a week after rival North Korea claimed to put its own spy satellite into orbit for the first time. The Dow finished up 294 points. The NASDAQ gained 78. More at townhall.com.
After betrayal.
I didn't see it coming. Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. The mortgage, car payments, and all the other bills. Even things like our annual summer vacation would be out of reach. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. I knew it was time to stop putting it off and get life insurance right now. I got on my computer and went to ethoslife.com. In just 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected. Thanks to Ethos, my family won't have to worry about the bills if the unpredictable happens to me.
Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's GETETHOS.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
We may see a sprinkle or two as we go through the rest of the day on this Friday, but I'm thinking we're going to stay mainly dry, just cloudy and a little cool. 54 for the high in the afternoon. The overnight lows tonight near 40. Should be dry on Saturday, but a little bit cloudy and a high of 48 degrees. And then on Sunday, the high in the low 50s. Skies become partly cloudy and it will be a little breezy. So a mainly dry weekend with a few showers overnight Saturday night into early on Sunday morning. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Ken Kira.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Michael's Flooring Outlet has done so many incredible things for my family and for my in-laws. My in-laws got new hardwood put into their house, and so did my parents, and they absolutely love it. My parents had 30-year-old carpet. Yes, Mom and Dad, I'm calling you out, unfortunately. Sorry. But they had 30-year-old carpet in their home, carpet that I grew up on, carpet that my siblings grew up on, and it was time for it to go. They called Michael's Flooring Outlet and got a quote, and the service was so incredible and so easy. Michael's helped my parents every single step of the way, from what they were looking for, from the vibe that they were trying to set from the house, and then hooked them up with expert installers to get that carpet out of their house and install their hardwood floor in no time. Go to igotfloor.com or visit Michael's Flooring Outlet in Dardine Prairie, Creve Coeur, or St. Peter's at one of their locations. Again, that's igotfloor.com, igotfloored.com.
Fox News commentary.
Donald Trump seemingly throws his support behind BLM. That is a phrase I never thought I'd say. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
A human catastrophe is closing in. Nobody knows how far this one is going to go. You can feel the heat as tension is rising globally. War is expensive. Open a Noble Gold Investments IRA today, and you can claim a free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin. Just use the promo code GOLD. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com now.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
I'm supporting Governor Ron DeSantis as our 2024 presidential nominee. I still consider myself to be a Trump supporter, but I have feared for a few months now that the Trump of 2016 has changed. When I saw a Truth Social post from Donald Trump praising BLM, well, the hairs on my neck stood up. In the post, he stated, "I'm proud to have BLM support," like Black Lives Matter, BLM, 2020 Summer of George Floyd, mostly peaceful BLM, the organization that is directly responsible for the demonization, demoralization, and even defunding of our police officers, BLM? How? Why? What? Do I forgive BLM for what it did to our country, our cities, our communities, and our nation's law enforcement officers? That is a hell no. Listen, Trump does not need to support BLM to support Black Americans. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
I think on the bread and butter issues, Biden has failed young people, and we have an opportunity to do very well.
101.9 and 94.1.
Poor Joe Biden, to the extent that he knows what's going on every day, he doesn't have the energy any longer.
News Talk STL.
Good stuff there. Support local music, people. That is the great Perry Woods. You're listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo. My partner is Katie Fitzpatrick, and we will wrap up our week with a little Friday fun time, especially these days. Friday fun time is so needed. Send you off into the weekend with a smile on your face and a little silliness after a busy, busy week. But before we get there, we got more to talk about, including the ceasefire has ended in the Middle East. The Israeli Air Force has shared footage appearing to show an airstrike being carried out today against Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. This is after the Israeli forces were attacked first. So kind of the whole story of the entire war to this point. Fighter jets, quote, fighter jets and helicopter gunships attacked terrorist infrastructures of the Hezbollah terrorist organization in Lebanese territory in response to launches towards the territory of the state of Israel during the day. So again, in response to launches toward the territory of the state of Israel during the day. So Israel soldiers were targeted before this by the Hamas terrorists, and this was the large response to that. Quote, in addition, an Air Force aircraft attacked a firing squad in the area that attempted to fire at Israeli territory. This all from the Israeli Air Force. Hezbollah earlier claimed it attacked a group of Israeli soldiers near the Israeli northern border with Lebanon. Hezbollah fighters used suitable weapons, that's in quotes, against the Israeli troops. The terror group said in a statement, there were no reported casualties. All right. So, the ceasefire's over. We'll see how that goes. We're still learning about we're still hearing the stories of many of the hostages that were released during the ceasefire, including the kids. Did you see the kids that came back with brands, like cattle brands?
Oh, my gosh.
From the
I did
terrorists?
not see that.
Yes.
I cannot. I did not see it.
No,
I
I've been
don't think I
seeing this
can
that it
see
happened. I don't know that this was to every hostage or if this was just a particular group of hostages that had this happen to. But I know it was children. Children getting branded. Children getting assaulted, children getting kidnapped and held hostage, children getting branded, women getting raped, people getting just surprise attacked and killed in their home country. And these are the people that so many Americans are protesting for.
It's just such a gruesome.
The people responsible are the ones that people are protesting for, I should say.
This is just such a gruesome thing. And no, I did not know that some kids were coming back with branding. It's just, we're seeing some of these hostage stories unfold. Some of them talking about medically what they're having to endure right now after they're home from being held captive by Hamas. Some of them detailing not getting food, not getting water, being kept in the dark for hours and hours and hours a day. It's just so disheartening to know that some of these stories that are going to be told are going to fall on deaf ears for people that really need to hear them. And that is just, it's just it's an insane thing to think about, that people won't listen to these stories or possibly don't believe that they're actually happening.
And speaking of the ceasefire, again, had the ceasefire continued, this was going to be my top story because it's just so infuriating. 4 people were killed and 5 were wounded yesterday while the ceasefire was still active in a shooting attack that was claimed by Hamas as their actions against people in Israel at the entrance to Jerusalem. So, and both sides, no, not both sides, but like people in the media, people in the government, all were saying, well, this is like a shooting on the streets. So this isn't breaking the ceasefire. So Hamas, the terrorist group that's in this war with Israel, claims the shooting that killed 4 people during the ceasefire. We did this. That's not breaking the ceasefire. And so now going forward, as we talked about with George Santos when we were talking to Gabe, I'm more worried about with George Santos, that situation. I'm more worried about the precedent than protecting George Santos. What precedent does this set for the ceasefire going forward? Like, oh, it wasn't a missile. It wasn't military. It wasn't
Equipment.
military equipment being used. It was just people with a gun on the street. So that doesn't count. What?
And this is where this is the other side of that coin. So you want Israel and the citizens, Jewish citizens, to just stand by? That's what their reaction to being killed on the streets by this terrorist organization is what? Singing Kumbaya, lighting the bonfire, and saying peace be with you?
And how about we
Absolutely
flip test
not.
this? How about we flip test this? How about Israelis go into Gaza and shoot some Palestinian or terrorists, Hezbollah members, Hamas members, whatever it is, and during the ceasefire?
Yeah.
Israeli citizens, Israeli people go into Gaza, shoot people on the other side during the ceasefire. You think everybody's going to come out and say, "Oh no, this doesn't break," and then they take credit for it. They say, "Yep, we did it,
and we did it on purpose,
and we did it on purpose, and we're proud of it." Do you think everybody would be going, "Oh no, that doesn't break the ceasefire. That's totally fine. That's totally because that's what they did for this." Oh yeah, no, this wasn't a military action. This doesn't break the ceasefire.
And it goes
They're
back
celebrating killing 5 more Jews.
because
5 more
that's
Israelis.
their mission. That's
their mission. And it was during the ceasefire.
And it also goes back to, the protest permanent ceasefire. They don't give a rip about the word ceasefire.
No.
They don't give a rip about your hunger strike for the permanent ceasefire.
No.
Those words don't mean anything to them. They don't, because if they see their target and they see an opportunity, you bet your bottom dollar they're going to do everything they can to take out what they believe needs to be taken out. That's their mission. That's their goal.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and don't eat the donut and don't eat the turkey sandwich. It's not doing anybody any good.
So we'll watch over the weekend, and when we're back on Monday, I'm sure we'll have more to talk about. But with the ceasefire being over, we'll see what the next few days bring. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, did you see this today? Stormed out of ended the press conference early. The most transparent administration in history just cuts off the press conference because they don't like what the reporters are saying.
Wow.
We don't like what you guys are talking about. We're out of here. I actually have some sound. So let me plug this in here. It goes in this one. Yep, right. This should have prepared.
That's okay. We're on the fly.
Should have set this up a little earlier. Had this ready to go. But so let me explain it because it's kind of hard. It's so you understand what you're listening to because it definitely gets a little discombobulated here. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre stormed out of today's press briefing after being pressed by an African reporter on why he wasn't being called on when they were talking about African issues.
Oh, that's beautiful.
The clash marks the latest run-in between Karine Jean-Pierre and Simon Atba. We've talked about this guy before.
Oh, yeah.
He is of Today News Africa. He accused the White House a couple months ago of discrimination for not allowing to ask any questions. So here's what's being said in this piece of sound that I'm going to play for you so you can kind of try to, listen for what's going down because, again, it's a bunch of people talking over each other. Atba says, so John Kirby's speaking. And then it's going to be John Kirby, and then what's supposed to happen is John Kirby's up there kind of giving an update. He's going to answer some questions, and then and then he's going to leave, and Karine Jean-Pierre is going to take over and finish the standard press briefing.
Mm-hmm.
But when Kirby's up there, it's still Karine's still the one picking the reporters that ask questions.
Okay.
So when John Kirby's like, "Any questions?" He's not the one going, "Katie, go ahead."
Okay.
Hey, back there, in the red shirt, go ahead. It's still Karine going. Anybody have questions for John Kirby? Oh, okay. You. Okay. You. So he's not picking. So she's already picking who gets to talk and who gets to ask questions. and they're skipping over this guy. So the reporter says, "Can I ask you a follow-up on Angola?" Adba asked national security. This was to John Kirby after he was getting ready to leave. Karine Jean-Pierre, who was calling on the reporters to ask questions of Kirby, ignored him and called on a different reporter. And then as he's leaving, as Kirby's leaving and Karine Jean-Pierre's coming in, she's like, look, because he's, he keeps on like, hey, can I please ask a question? I'm from this part of the world.
Like, come on.
Can you, she says, we can continue the press briefing now if everybody will behave respectively, or we can end it. And then she calls on a different reporter. And Simon Adba says, it is so surprising that you don't take, you are receiving an African leader, but you can't take a question from an African journalist? And then she says, okay, we'll just end the briefing now. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. The most transparent administration in history.
What were you so afraid of?
What are you afraid of? She just hates this guy.
What are you so afraid of?
She just hates this guy. And that's the whole thing. They play, obviously we know this. They play favorites.
Totally.
They have their
she
people.
Said that.
They play favorites. They have handpicked people with handpicked questions. And he's not on the good person list. He's not a teacher's pet. He just and he's become a bit of a thorn in her side because he's the one that's always Wait till they kick him out, because they're gonna kick him out. Wait till they kick him out of the press briefing room. So here's that exchange. So he's saying, you're receiving an African leader, but you can't take a question from an African journalist, and she just out of there. So the beginning is the shuffling out of John Kirby and Karine taking over, and then you'll hear that exchange. So here it is. Hopefully this works. And go.
And away we go.
Is it not working? This is the first time we've ever tried this in this studio. I'm fully playing over here. Oh, it's that one? Let's try that one.
Okay, sorry, everybody. We'll get this done.
Let's try that one.
I do hear a little bit of something.
Yeah, that's coming out of my... Hold on, that's coming out of this. That's coming out of my just computer here. Hold on. Here we go.
Here we go.
Take 3. Here we go. Yeah, so here we go.
It's so surprising that you don't take if you are receiving an African leader, you can't take a question from an African journalist.
We can end this right now. Sorry, I have one question. Basically, Johnson, Marco Rubio.
It's not about ending the briefing. I want to ask an African question because I am receiving an African leader.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
Oh, here it is.
We can end this briefing if it's not going to be respectful here. Chris.
That's what I'm saying. You are receiving an African leader and you don't take questions.
Thanks, everybody.
Racist.
That's it.
Thanks, everybody.
That's it. That's the whole press briefing. That's the entire press briefing.
Incredible.
John Kirby gets done talking. She goes up and says, we can keep going, but only if it's respectful. And he says, but you're receiving an African leader, but you can't take a question from an African reporter? And she says, that's it.
These reporters are at their wits' end. I'm telling you, this administration has probably been the most eye-opening thing for the press and for the administration.
Remember when we heard for 4 years that Donald Trump was like an enemy of the press and that he was the one trying to silence the press? Donald Trump's favorite thing in the world was being in front of the press. He'd take every question he possibly could. And he'd stand in front of the helicopter with the blades above him, and he'd be shouting answers.
And it wasn't fake nice. He was like, I don't like you, and I don't like your network, and it lies, but ask your question.
Yeah. They run.
And they're fake.
The Biden administration, literally, we just saw it, runs from the press.
And I just, what could you possibly be so afraid of with this guy's question? Like, what is it? Probably you don't want to answer it, but what makes you so fearful that you have to end abruptly a press conference and then book out of there because he's like, why don't you take? I'm the only African in this room.
And they're gonna pretend like hey press, you didn't get to talk because of him. No, we didn't. The press didn't get to talk or ask questions because of you.
Let me say something too. If this flip test, if this was Trump and he didn't take a question from the only African in the room on Africa, racist.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Racist, that's the word that they would all be saying.
No doubt about it. All right, Elon Musk's been in the news a whole bunch lately, and I know that you've got thoughts.
I do.
So I want to hear what Katie has to say about Elon Musk, plus a little Friday fun time to send you off into your weekend, hopefully with a smile on your face. Next, here on Colombo and Katie.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
Stick it up your butt. Food and Agricultural Organization at the UN.
Follow us on Getter at News Talk STL.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's.
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
Place to talk. News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for my good friend David Ryan, president of Cadre Asset Management. Our family has worked with the team at Cadre Asset Management, and particularly David Ryan, for years. He's one of those guys, you've heard him on the show with us many times. He's one of our go-to financial experts. Every time you talk to him, you feel a little bit smarter. You learn something, because that's exactly what Cadre Asset Management is all about. A cadre is a small group of people specially trained for one particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management and David Ryan can play in your family's financial future. And it's across the board, whether it be financial planning, estate planning, retirement, investments, business financing. David Ryan and his team at Cadre do it all. And it's so easy just to get started with them. You can go to their website, cadreassetmgmt.com, and just click on the Schedule Now button to schedule a consultation. That quick and easy, and you're off and running. And again, whether you are worried about your business, or you're starting a business, or you're worried about retirement, or you're just worried about doing the right thing for your family in general, David Ryan and his team at Cadre are the folks to call. Learn about how they can help you secure your financial future. And you can do that by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Vincent's Jewelers has the hottest gift for the holidays: flexible bracelets, quality, beauty, starting at just $150. And of course, you'll want to check for rings, pendants, maybe watches. I suggest you check the website each day for new items and specials. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. Give Vincent's a chance for your business. Vincent's, locally owned, supporting local charities for more than 42 years. Vincent's, my only jeweler.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
I just wonder if Congressman Adam Schiff of California was ever a Boy Scout, to be trustworthy, honorable. I'm just asking. I do know this. He says there are hundreds of cowards in our nation. That's right. Adam Schiff says there are hundreds of cowards in our nation. Well, who could they be? No one likes a coward, but he's found them. He pinpointed all of them. He said they're all in the Republican Party. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, he's saying, they're filled with cowards, and they're the ones who were enabling Donald Trump. He said, I remember speaking to Adam Kinzinger with him and Liz Cheney as we were fighting to get Trump under control and do away with all the damage he'd done to our country. He said, I was telling Kinzinger, we're so proud that you guys are so courageous. And Kinzinger said, well, we're not so courageous. We're just surrounded by cowards. They won't speak out and say what they should say. Question, Congressman Schiff, does that include Democrats who won't call out fellow Democrats or anti-Semitic?
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Planning a party with family, friends, maybe a business party. Cafe Napoli has 4 locations, and each has rooms to fit your needs. But a word to the wise, book early. Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Cafe Napoli in Town and Country, Napoli 3 on the streets of St. Charles, or right next door, Napoli C. Also, get some Cafe Napoli gift cards. Good for all locations, anytime. I'll see you at Cafe Napoli.
The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter.
Hi, it's Todd Showalter from The Right Mind Show, where we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. And there's nothing more dysfunctional than the holidays. Crowded malls, drunk relatives, and of course, the holiday fruitcake, who I refer to as my Uncle Bob. So join me and my buddy Joey B this Saturday, won't you? Hey, it's better than kissing Grandma under the mistletoe.
The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. Saturday evenings at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you this holiday by LiberalJoke.com.
I'm always glad to have new sponsors, but I have turned some down. See, I only endorse clients if I believe in them. And I've been a spokesman for John Beal for 10 years. Through those years, listeners said they went with John Beal because they trusted me. And just recently, a woman named Mary wrote, "We got a John Beal roof based on your recommendation." Thank you, Mary, and all the others for calling John Beal. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Lit Cigar wins Best Smoking Lounge and Best Smoke Shop in the Riverfront Times Best of St. Louis listing for 2023. That is 2 years back-to-back. Lit Cigar Lounge and its new space in the district just off Highway 40 in Chesterfield. Lit is for men and women who enjoy great cigars, premium drinks. The website keeps you on top of special events, including live entertainment. LitSTL.com. LitSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Some in Congress say, hey, we got to keep an eye on the waste and fraud in the food stamp program. Congressman Mike Boss tells us about his plan to protect your money.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Little Friday fun time, I think, to send you off into your weekend. I've got some fun stories. I don't know what you've got. I don't know if what you've got to say about Elon is fun or not.
You decide.
Start us off.
You decide if you think it's fun. I do. SpaceX and Tesla CEO Elon Musk had some harsh words for his advertisers who were fleeing the platform X.
Yeah, including Walmart, right?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Lots of people saying, I'm not going to be on Twitter anymore.
Twitter, which, by the way, for years has been known as the cesspool of social media, the most toxic place on earth, the most toxic social media platform there is. And Walmart and other advertisers were just fine with it.
Until now.
It's actually, believe it or not, it has cleaned up a little bit. There's still lots of BS on Twitter, but that's kind of the point of Twitter.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an unfiltered,
Access
opinionated
to things.
Yeah, it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be that way. And it was gross, particularly over the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But now that it's Elon Musk's, now it's gone too far.
So he says, go
Give
F
me
yourself.
a break. Good for him.
He says, go F yourself. Elon Musk was speaking on stage at the New York Times Deal Book Summit at Jazz in Lincoln Center in New York City on Wednesday. Musk made the comment while being interviewed by Andrew Ross Sorkin, speaking about the current advertising boycott that's happening at Twitter. What this advertising boycott is going to do is going to kill the company, Musk said, and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed my company. In response to Disney CEO Bob Iger, who earlier discussed Disney pulling advertisement from the platform, Musk didn't hold back. He says, don't advertise. If someone is going to try and blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with your money, go F yourself.
Yeah.
Go out F yourself. Is that clear enough for you? Hi, Bob. If you're in the audience, that's how I feel. Don't advertise.
Attaboy.
And later on in this interview, he's asked about, well, people are going to blame you if X crumbles and fails and stuff. And he's like, let the chips fall where they may. I don't care if
Twitter's never been a money-making platform anyway.
You've said that from the beginning.
It's not. People think that people try to put Twitter and Facebook as like equals. They're not even close. Facebook makes billions. Twitter loses money more often than not. So it's not like it's doing this great because, again, that's the way it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to get a bunch of ads when you click on Twitter. You're not. It's supposed to be just your way to to put your thoughts out on whatever, whether it be wholesome stuff like pictures of your family
or not so.
Yeah.
It's
or
funny.
Politics.
His theory on all of this too was so intriguing. I listened to about 5 minutes of this this New York City stand-up conference that they were having with Elon Musk, and he was basically saying, let the public be the judge. Let the public decide if X goes away and it's because of the advertisers. I'll say who left and I'll say why the company is failing, and it will go away forever. I don't think anybody will cry over it, but then the public gets to judge those advertisers and say, we want to do business. We want to put our money with these advertisers forever. So I don't think anybody has ever said something like that about one of their companies. He was like, let it fail.
Yep. Good for him.
It was amazing.
Good for him. Richest person in the world. He's like, yeah, you're going to try to bribe me with money?
Yeah, that's what he said. It was great.
I like it.
I do too.
I like this too. An Illinois court yesterday upheld the conviction of actor Jussie Smollett.
Yes.
For a
Let freedom ring.
For the staged hate crime. The decision was a 2-1 decision with Justice David Navarro and Justice Mary Ellen Hogland agreeing. Justice Fredrina Lyle, that's it. Judge Fredrina Lyle dissented, according to the court documents. Smollett's legal team will file an appeal with the Supreme Court. I think that's the Supreme Court of Illinois. Maybe it's the Supreme Court of the United States, but I think that means the Supreme Court of Illinois. Anyway, Smollett originally sentenced. This is the dumb thing. Smollett was sentenced for all his BS to 150 days in jail.
Nothing.
And $25,000 fine. That's,
wow.
Wait a minute. Felony probation, restitution. No, okay. $25,000 fine, 150 days in jail, and $120,000 paid back to the city of Chicago for all the resources that they use.
Dang.
So it comes to so his total penalty comes to about $150,000 and 150 days in jail.
Oh my gosh.
Right? That's it. That's what
That's
all
nothing.
this is about. That could have been over and done with a very long time ago. But he keeps appealing. After Smollett team he reported to jail the first time on March 10th, 2022, and was released 6 days later because of his appeal. So pending appeal. So he's done 6 days of his 150 days. After Smollett's team files for another appeal, the Illinois Supreme Court, I was right, will decide whether to hear the case. If the actor's conviction is not overturned, he'll be required to serve out the rest of his 150-day jail sentence. It's only 150 days, and he's still dragging this out. He's still saying that he's innocent, that he didn't do this, which he so obviously did. If there's one thing that Jussie Smollett is a master of, it is wasting time and clogging up the system.
Wasting time.
It's 150 days in jail and a $150,000 fine. This could have all been over with so fast, and yet we're going to now the state Supreme Court to try to not go to jail for a few months.
I look at Jussie Smollett, and I feel like he is the definition of a mental health case. Like he is, like I'm not saying he should get out of his.
He's the walking definition of Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, like he is.
Like
yes.
I can just blame everything of my life on Trump, create this, and I'll be a hero.
And I think he should serve his time. He shouldn't get out of that because of the horrors.
Roaming gangs of white supremacist Trump supporters in downtown Chicago. That's what we were all supposed to believe.
Yeah, exactly.
A roving gang of white supremacist Trump supporters
to beat me up in front of
at
Subway.
3 a.m. in Chicago, and when it was 10 degrees outside.
Yeah. That's what happened.
That's what happened.
But I look at this.
He happened to step on their turf.
And if you don't think that we're dealing with mental health issues in the United States of America, I lead you to Jussie Smollett.
Yeah.
He is just
Except his mental problems is like, I'm going to try to bend the system. I'm going to try to take advantage of everything to make myself out to be a hero.
He and Alec Baldwin both just need to get, they just need to serve their time and then go away.
Egos. Yeah, no kidding. So, Jussie Smollett, the conviction was upheld. He's going to try one more time with the state Supreme Court. But eventually, Jussie, you're just going to have to go serve your 150 days, buddy. You only got 144 left. So,
and one more thing before we leave, Jussie.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that picture that he took in court where he's like, what? Like,
oh, yeah. He's got the Black Power fist up.
Yeah, the Black Power fist. And it's just like, hey, brother, the two people that they openly admitted that you paid them off.
Yeah.
And like, it was a total hoax.
Yeah.
Like, it was that time that the two people that they're like, yeah, dude paid us off. The whole thing, he hired us.
You're an idiot.
And that's what he was doing in the courtroom.
Yeah, you're an idiot. Remember when he said, I'm not suicidal. If something happens to me in jail, they killed me.
Oh,
the people killed me.
Because of Epstein.
Yeah.
They're like,
No,
shut
you're not on that level, bro.
Oh my
You are not this big.
The
You are
drama.
not this cool.
Yeah, you aren't anything.
You're not that guy.
You're Jussie.
You're Jussie Smollett.
Jussie
the
Smollett.
weirdo that made up a terrible story.
You're nothing, bro.
Here's another dumb thing. We mentioned it earlier. Taylor Swift course at Harvard will use her music, to explore race, class, and white Americanness. This is an English class.
I'm intrigued.
The English department at Harvard University plans to debut a course next semester dedicated to the global superstar's celebrated songcraft, according to the Harvard Crimson, which is their newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, Taylor Swift and Her World. That's the name of the class. Taylor Swift and Her World. We looked it up, $55,000 to go to Harvard for a year.
Yep.
And that's before housing, that's before books, that's before food. You're talking
straight
probably
up tuition.
$70,000, $80,000, $90,000 in reality to go to Harvard for a year, and you can take a class called Taylor Swift and Her World. Will be taught by English professor Stephanie Burt, who is a Swift mastermind, who's described by the student newspaper as, quote, a diehard Swiftie. Quote, we're lucky to be living in a time when one of our major artists is also one of the most famous people on the planet. Why would you not teach a class on that? Said Professor Burt. The Crimson also noted that in the article about the new course, quote, Swift's evolving relationships with class, religion, and identity have sparked a range of political conversations. Despite her initial trajectory as an artist focused solely on music making, Swift has become well known for her political activism. So
this is what we're learning.
Through the course, Burt asserts that her influence on politics and culture is worthy of study and analysis.
I couldn't imagine. This is
class at one of the most prestigious universities on the planet is called Taylor Swift and Her World.
We have a higher education problem.
If you've ever need to make a case against college, which I've been making for a long time, we need to boost our trades. We need to send kids to trade schools. College is right for some. If you're going to be an engineer, you need to go to college.
Doctor, or whatever.
You want to be a doctor, you need to go to college. You want to be a lawyer, you need to go to college. There's a lot of jobs that you don't need to go to college.
You want to be a Swiftie,
or you
don't need to go to college.
And if you ever wanted to make a case about how college is out of control,
this
Harvard charging $55,000 a year and then teaching a class called Taylor Swift and Her World.
Pathetic.
Oof, top of the list right there. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. The first weekend of the month of December, which is absolutely wild. Colombo and Katie will be back on Monday at 2 o'clock. In the meantime, make sure you're subscribed to our podcast. And keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next, followed by the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show at 4 and Larry Connors USA at 6. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Is your family prepared for the financial burden of losing a loved one?
Are you aware of the cost of a funeral?
Benjamin